A warm good afternoon to one and all. My humble pronoun to our Swamiji, with the blessings of Swamiji, on behalf of Srimad Sivanjana Balaya Swamigal Tamil Arts and Science College, Mailam, and PG and Research Department of Commerce, I welcome you all for the fourth day session of 5-day international webinar on impact of COVID-19 and global trade. I would like to invite our Swamiji, our Secretary Sir and Principal Sir. It's immense pleasure to invite our Chief Guest, HOD of PG and Research Department of Commerce and other faculty members. Above all, I feel great joy to invite all our participants with us for today's session. I hope you all will give the active participation like previous days. Now, I would like to invite our HOD, Dr. S. Anandarajan Sir, PG and Research Department of Commerce, to deliver his vote of thanks. Welcome address. Sorry. அவர்கிட்ட காணாமே. சார் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்க சார். வீடியோ ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்க சார். வரல.
Good afternoon, one and all. Srimad Sivanjana Balaya Swamigal Tamil Arts and Science College, Mailam, PG and Research Department of Commerce organizes the 5-day international webinar on impact of COVID-19 and global trade. I humbly and respectfully welcome our Holiness Swamiji, Chairman of our college. My honor and boon to welcome our Secretary Sir, a man of action and multidisciplinary. Next, I am glad to welcome our Principal Sir for his guidance and support, who always boosts us by his peaceful smile and thought. Then I would like to welcome our Chief Guest, Dr. Uma Mageshwari, Assistant Professor of Business Administration, Siva Sivanjani Institute of Management, Secunderabad, Telangana. We are eagerly waiting for our session, ma'am. Next, I would like to welcome our faculty members. Then I extended my welcome to all our participants who join with us today. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I welcome Dr. G. Uma Mageshwari ma'am, Assistant Professor at Siva Sivanjani Institute of Management, Hyderabad, to our webinar gathering. She published 5 journals in Scopus Index and presented paper in international conference at University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She had 16 years of administration and academic experience. We will invite our chief guest now. Please, all of you join me. Welcome our chief guest to deliver his keynote address for today's session. Ma'am, please, you can start, ma'am.
Ma'am, you can start, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am? Unmute your audio, ma'am. Unmute your audio, ma'am.
Wait, ma'am. அவங்க பேரே காணோம். மேல ஸ்கிரீன்ல வந்துட்டாங்க சார், 2 இதுல வராங்க.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can start, ma'am. You can proceed, ma'am.
Thank you.
Some noises.
What's the distraction?
Not from here, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, you start
Okay, ma'am.
the session.
Yeah, thank you.
Some relay problem, ma'am.
No, is that mine or from your side?
Ma'am, this is from your side, ma'am. Sound is coming from your side, ma'am. Please take it off, ma'am.
Oh my God. Okay, I will quit from the laptop. That's better.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it good now?
Yes, ma'am. It is audible now. Everything is okay, ma'am. You can proceed, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Some technical error it is.
Ma'am, everything is okay. We can audible now, ma'am. We are audible, ma'am, now. Hello, ma'am.
Clear தான் இருந்துச்சு.
Sir, உங்களுக்கு
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
We can
ma'am,
hear
yes.
you. You can proceed now. Everything is clear now. You can proceed, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
என்னாச்சு? இருக்காங்க.
It's time to address everyone, my family, gurus, and God. I'm very grateful for providing all support from you, respected Dr. Tirunavukarasu sir and HOD Dr. Anand Rajan sir for giving.
Ma'am, unmute, ma'am. Unmute your audio, ma'am.
Clear now. Is it clear now? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, but your video is not there. But you can proceed, ma'am. We are hearing you.
I'm very sorry for the technical glitches here.
Okay, ma'am. No problem, ma'am. Proceed, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So, dear faculty, technical support, scholars, and students for participating in knowledge sharing. So, as we all know that COVID-19 has turned the world upside down. Everything has been impacted, how we live and interact with each other. Sir, could you please share the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, how we live and interact with each other, how we work and communicate, how we move around the world, how to travel, everything, every aspect of our life has been affected by it. Although the world is in lockdown, governments, epidemiologists, school principals, entrepreneurs, and families around the world are already planning the next steps. What are those steps? The plannings are like how to safety reopen the schools and businesses, how to commute and travel without transmitting or contacting the infection, how to support those most affected by the crisis, the millions who have lost their livelihoods or their loved ones, how to ensure that already serious inequalities do not deteriorate further. So that COVID-19 pandemic represents an unprecedented disruption, which is for the first time to the global economy and world trade, as production and consumption are scaled back across the globe. Decisions made now and in the coming months will be some of the most important made in generations. They will affect people all around the world for years to come. It is imperative that governments making those decisions have access to the best information available. So next slide, please.
வீடியோ உங்களை ஆன் பண்ண முடியும்.
Next slide, please. Can someone assist me?
Yes, wait.
Thank you. So here, just brief description about the total presentations that we are going to talk about trade linkages, how it transformed during from 2000 to 2017, a typical 2 decades nearby time. And we do have a number of issues of COVID-19 impact, even though we are going to discuss about only economic impact and social impact. If we see the economic impact, we have again some issues. We can discuss about vulnerabilities in the banking systems. We can discuss about the employment shocks. We can discuss about the sharp fall in trade and commodity prices. We can discuss about global manufacturing declines and the change and challenges in the tourism process, international postal services disruptions. Likewise, we can discuss many more things. Here, the presentation, because of the time bound, the presentation was comprised to the discussion about the aviation industry, that's aviation industry, and unprecedented shock to labor markets, the trade in medical goods, and the declining global manufacturing production. That is what the presentation was minimized to. And when we see the social impact, socially, the people were impacted, many. So here again, time bound, time matters. That's what the presentation minimized it to. Mobility impacts and developing countries, how they lessen the equipment to use the ICT tools. Finally, the pollution and wastage. All this, how it leads to poverty. So this is what the presentation planned for today's session, as our theme is about impact of COVID-19 in global trade. Seems this is more relevant when we are going to discuss about all this. Next slide, please.
So next, sir.
Wait.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. So trade linkage. This figure elevates the transformity of trade linkage in the from the year 2002 2017. So all here, the notes, the colors represents what? So this chart shows economies with the highest levels of domestic values added, which is called as DVA. In global value chain, GVC activities. Of course, this terminology is a little typical to understand. So note sizes, the lines, if you observe the lines, the sizes are varying in the 2000 and in the 2017. So these notes represent the size of the GVC participations, the edges refers, the colors of the edges refers. Now we are going to talk about all the orange notes refers to economies from Asia, Asian countries. And the green notes are representing North American Free Trade Agreement. And the blue notes are representing European Union. And the yellow notes are representing the remaining currencies. So here the thickness, line thickness indicates the size of the DVA that is observed abroad. These colors, if you see in 2000, all except USA, maximum of the ovals are concentrating in the same way. The trade concentrated, that was shattered all through the world. If you see in 2017, China is having majority of the percentage next to US. And now China is being on the line of the top when we're talking about the trade, imports, exports, everything that matters. Next slide, please.
So next slide, sir.
Next slide, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So as we are going to discuss about the economic impact, aviation industry is the one among that. So the aviation industry bears the weight of the consequences of the COVID-19 outbreak heavier than other industries, as it is the transport of the people and goods all across the globe for travel, tourism, business and trade. The prospects of aviation worldwide have taken a dramatic turn for the worse, with rapid and drastic declines in air travel demand amplified by stringent travel restrictions. With around 90% of fleet being grounded and travel demand hitting nearly zero, the traffic reduction has far exceeded the level observed in events such as SARS and terrorist attacks during 11 September 2001. So, putting the aviation industry under extreme strain, these are the scales represented. If we see the diagram, so this is the decline stage nearly 54%. So, in according to International Civil Aviation Organization, economic impact analysis of COVID-19 on aviation indicates that in the month of March, when pandemic was declared on 11th, 38%. Next slide, please. 38% of seats capacity were
So next
cut
slide.
globally compared to the same period of 2019. So passenger numbers plunged by 54% or $198 million due to damp load factor. Asia Pacific recorded the biggest fall in passenger number by 85 million people, followed by Europe or Europe and North America by 50 and 35 millions respectively. If we see the air cargo traffic, which is dropped by 19% in March, offsetting by the recent increasing demand of cargo freights in transforming medical supplies. So down here we have given a representation of the passenger revenue plummets. Plummets in sense the fastest drop of the passengers here. So passengers revenue on x-axis and the y-axis shows the continental segregation. So in March 2020, there is nearly 60% above decline throughout the world here. So the slump in the air traffic has further caused a severe financial pressure on all stakeholders in the aviation sector. Only in March, airlines are estimated to lose nearly $28 billion in revenues, and airports have lost around 8 billion USD dollars. Airports and air navigation service providers have lost nearly 824 million USDs. Next slide.
Okay, ma'am.
Slide, please. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
So this represents the monthly passenger tariff, which was compared the data of the 2019 and 2020. So we can see the downtrend of the passenger number here, which was declined from nearly 382. It was in the downfall of 180. In the right hand side, we can see the decline of the air cargo volumes. Worldwide, the air cargo volume was decreased by minus 972%. Tons of the air cargo volume was decreased worldwide. Next slide, please.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
aviation industry already it is suffered that we discussed. Everybody, that's many of us are experiencing, our friends, family, or relatives are experiencing this employment loss. Labor markets are going to decline. So halt in activity due to COVID-19 pandemic had an immediate and sweeping impact on employment. Global hours worked could drop by 10.5% in this quarter, which is almost equivalent to 305 million full-time workers with a 48 hours work week per week, where 48 hours people are working. So this figure represents that first quarter of 2020, that means Jan to March, and second quarter that represents from April to June. So this was expected to raise by 10.5% in here. Next slide, please. So in response to this exponential rise in COVID-19 infections, many countries across regions are implementing lockdowns, travel restrictions, social distancing policies, and workplace and school closures. These necessary measures aim to slow the spread of the virus, minimizing the lives lost, but they also have a sudden and drastic impact on workers and enterprises too. By the beginning of the April, 81% of the global workforce lived in the countries with mandatory or recommended workplace closures. But by April 22nd, their share has decreased to 68% because of the lifting of workplace closures in China. So if you see this diagram down to the last line that you could observe world without China. So there is no much drastic variation. If you see on the whole world represents 66%. Without China, it is 84%. So they started running, they lift the closures and all, they are running, their companies are running, those people are working. That was decreased, that percentage was decreased. So with a view of estimating the global employment decline, this will entitle the ILO, International Labour Organization, designed a new casting model which based on real-time economic and labor market data, which predicts the drop in working hours. Its findings are far from reassuring. The total amount of hours worked by workers around the world could drop in the current quarter by around 10.5%, which already we discussed now. So next slide, please. So till then, we talked about the decline and the tremendous decrease in the market. Is every sector is burning? Every sector is in decline state? Definitely no. Trade in medical goods are booming state. Medical goods that we are going to know about, imports and exports of the medical products, medical supplies, medical equipment, protective and cleaning products, all together we are talking about the trade of these medical goods. So imports and exports of medical products totaled about nearly 2 trillion US dollars, which includes the trade union, intra-European Union trade, which represented approximately 5% of total world merchandising trade in 2019. So here, protective supplies used in the fight against COVID-19 attracts an average tariff of 11.5%, and which will go high as 27% in some countries. Everybody is purchasing those goods. So next slide, please. So if you see these measures, all COVID-19 related products have some measure. At last, protective and cleaning products are in highly movable goods, highly movable medical goods now. For these all medical related goods, China is the topmost exporter. So in the right side figure that we represented top 10 exporters of these personal protective products, where China is in lead after Germany. So the report of this World Trade Organization Secretariat traces trade flows of the products such as personal protective products, hospital and laboratory supplies, medicines, and medical technologies while providing information on their respective tariffs. So trade in medical products, which has been described as critical and in severe shortage during COVID-19 crisis, totaled about for 597 billion US dollars in 2019, which is accounting for 1.7% of total world merchandising trade. So the 10 largest supplying economies accounted for almost three-quarters of total world's exports of products, while the 10 largest buyers accounted for roughly two-thirds of world imports. These people only are getting benefit like United States, Germany, China, Belgium, Netherlands, Japan, UK, France, Italy. These 10 are said to be topmost importers for these kind of the medical goods. Next slide, please. So now we are going to talk about decline in global manufacturing production. Obviously, there is no employment, closure of the companies, there is no production. So how far it was declined? That is what we are going to talk about. So the global manufacturing growth, which was already decelerating in 2019 due to trade tensions among dominant economies, is expected to further decline due to COVID and economic disruptions. It is going to decline again. So here the data coverage is limited to country groups affected by social and economic lockdowns in early months of the COVID-19 only. Throughout the year 2019, world manufacturing was already experiencing a consistent decline in production growth, especially industrialized countries registered a noticeable contraction of production, where China still showed high quarterly growth rates of more than 5% at the end of the year. For the first 2 months of 2020, China showed a sharp reduction of output because of COVID and the New Year celebrations and all, with which other regions to contain the virus at the same time. So it remains to be seen how fast China will catch up the losses made during the first quarter of the 2020. They didn't take any chance over here immediately. They tried to coop up the market. Even though they are in downtrend when it comes to the manufacturing of the goods and services, if you see these kind of the sorry, if you see these measures, monthly growth rates already declined. Worldwide, it was declined nearly 9%. If you see the China alone, it was almost declined near to 25%, almost it's 21 to 21%, which is this report given by World Trade Organization. Next slide, please. So till earlier that we talked about the economic impacts in various issues like crisis in aviation industry, labor markets, and how the medical goods are being traded, how far they are booming in exporting and importing, the decline in the manufacturing. Globally, it is affected that we all know. Now, the social impacts that we are going to move. Being people, we have to move from in and there. That's many people are traveling every year because of COVID. Mobility has impacted. So the COVID-19 pandemic has caused global mobility to come to a near standstill with border closures. Stay at home, be at your country. Likewise, we are looking at so many things, and there is air travel suspensions and complex mobility restrictions like forcibly displaced and other migrant populations are one of the first to confront the harsh impact of this crisis. People were asked to go to their places and there is no transformation. Likewise, people are facing so many issues in the mobility. So the current outbreak of COVID-19 has drastically changed the mobility, which is complex and which is for the first time to the world in a unprecedented way. So to better understand this, the International Organization for Migration has developed a global mobility database I couldn't able to get that structures, which is very complex. That's what I didn't disclose that in the PPT. So that was very awesome. They had done this impacts of human mobility across the global and regional and countries levels. So this International Organization for Migration has developed a COVID-19 travel restriction monitoring database, which provides daily reporting on the rapidly changing travel restrictions which is being imposed in response to the pandemic. For example, on March 10, 2020, IOM recorded 5,430 restrictions in the database imposed by 105 countries, whereas when March 23rd it was recorded nearly 33,712 restrictions imposed by 164 countries, territories, and all areas altogether nearly that was given. So this IOM platform maps and analyzes the different countries, territories, and areas that are imposing restrictions, as well as those that are receiving restrictions, like they are recording and giving to the awareness of the world. So IOM has also incorporated an analysis of exceptions to these restrictions, such as repatriations. They omitted all these repatriations who are working at abroad, those who are coming back to their own countries. They exempted this data, and the mobility of the humanitarian and medical experts. Doctors are working in and there. They omitted all this data, except this they quoted these measures above given measures. Okay. So next, which is very relevant to, next slide please, which is very relevant to our profession being academicians, that we are experiencing that. Next slide please. ICT tools. We are already into that. We are using that. Next slide, please. Any problem in switching the slide?
Please wait, ma'am. Please wait. Madam, are you okay? Hello? Hello, madam? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, madam? Hello?
Problem in switching the slide?
Hello?
Sir.
Some technical problem. Wait, ma'am. நீங்க கண்டினியூ பண்ணுங்க மேடம். ஓகே ஓகே கண்டினியூ.
பிபிடி வராதா?
பேபிடி கொஞ்சம் வெயிட், ஜஸ்ட் வெயிட் மேம்.
Ma'am, you can hear me?
Yes, yes, please.
Yes, ma'am, you can proceed, ma'am. You want the slide, ma'am?
Not for me, for the people
For the audience,
section.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, okay. Just a minute, ma'am. Here is a technical problem, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Okay, ma'am. சொல்லுங்க சார்.
May I share the screen? May I help you?
Participants, please excuse us. There is a technical problem. Just a 5 minutes will make it correct.
Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, ma'am.
We are all experiencing the same. Nothing to worry. Yeah.
Here is a net
Okay,
problem.
short break here. Already done with the break. That earlier that we discussed about mobility impact. So now developing countries less equipped to use ICT. So ICT is extensively used because of the COVID-19, which is helping everyone nowadays. So what this social impact is telling about means since the current outbreak of COVID-19 emerged, many individuals and households are using information and communication technology to minimize the disruption and circumvent of the problems and obstacles they face in getting with their daily lives. So that must be a part of our life for everyone, not only for someone. So some of the ICT related data that is beginning to emerge reveals the scale of the profound changes that are impacting people's lives around the world. For an example, where data released by Google from user of their map service identifies large changes to people's daily movements between home and the places of work or some other way they are moving. However, for people to be able to take advantage of this empowering opportunity which offers by ICTs, one thing they need is a sufficient level of access to be able to do so. So here ITU estimates that International Technological University, which is located at USA, which estimated that over 53% of world's population uses the internet in 2019. When it compared to 2005, it was only 17%. So how much it was increased when we see at 2 decades of the time, not even 2 decades, it's almost 15 to 16 years gap that was increased from 17% to 53%. However, the proportion of people using the internet is not distributed evenly across the globe. So here the figure tells about 82% in Europe, but only just over 28% in Africa in that year. So in least developed countries, only around 19% of individuals used the internet in 2019. So considering the household, it is estimated. Um, so what could be? It is estimated that many of the people fairly in the developed countries, 87% of households, and in the region of Europe, 86.5%, but it's much lower in LDCs. LDCs means least developed countries. So those households having internet access may not necessarily have a computer with which to use it for performing detailed tasks. Just 9.5% of households in least development countries compared to 82.3% in development countries. So that is the minimum and maximum, which is from 9.5 percentage, it is up to 82.3 percentage. That is the difference between the least development countries and overdeveloped countries. So here a point of particular relevance to COVID-19 is in fact that use of ICTs are varying by age too. Most of the youngsters are utilizing this opportunity. Next slide, please.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is also one of the important thing. When initial days of the lockdown, many people felt that, of course, pollution will be reduced. That's true, but how far we are going to see that? So long-term exposure to air pollution may significantly increase the risk factor of many predicted to die from COVID-19 impact. So there are huge increases in impacts of the solid medical wastage pollution and marine litters as a result of COVID-19 crisis. Reducing the air pollution and proper waste management are very critical to minimize negative impacts on human as well as in the ecosystem's health. So if you see this diagram here, so this diagram, this is took by one of the satellite Copernicus 5P satellite. So this is the diagram. There is a decrease in the nitrogen dioxide in the environment of the Europe. So the pandemic spread of the coronavirus has prompted many governments to introduce unprecedented measures to contain the disease, leading to temporary shutdown of many businesses and widespread of the restrictions in travel. So this new data from the Copernicus 5P satellite reveals the decline of air pollution, specifically nitrogen dioxide concentrations over Italy. While satellites found decreases in one air pollutant, that doesn't mean the air is free from all pollutions. Only nitrogen dioxide has concentrations were decreased. So here, efforts to reduce the pollution post COVID-19 is thus essential to decrease vulnerability in the population to the virus. With shortage of personal protective equipment, PPO usually we call, endangering the health workers worldwide, who calls for that World Health Organization, it calls on for industry and governments to increase the manufacturing by 40% to meet the rising global demand for the PPO kits, whatever the medical goods which supports the people. So again, producing the goods is doesn't matter. That's based on that medical waste statistics, which was published by Public Waste Agency in 2019. Nearly 10 to 15% of, next slide please, nearly 10 to 15% of medical wastage is hazardous. An estimate of additional tons of hazardous medical wastage can be expected in European Union. So this diagram tells about how the raise will affect. So these finally they told the five countries. Those countries are Italy, France, Spain, UK, and Belgium, which are in European Union. So the decision makers at every level to ensure that waste management is given attention to ensure minimization of impacts upon human health and environment as well. Next slide, please.
Hello, ma'am.
Next
Hello, ma'am.
slide.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Next slide, please.
Ah,
People into extreme poverty. Yes.
yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Okay, ma'am.
COVID-19 again, keep on talking about COVID-19. It is talking its toll on the world, which is causing deaths, illness, and economic disparities. But how is the deadly virus impacting the global poverty? Once if vaccine come, if everything sets well, definitely no. Here we all argue that it is pushing about 40 to 60 million people into extreme poverty, and that maybe they estimated majority of the poverty maybe from sub-Saharan Africa. African countries may affect very hardest hit, maybe occur for the region of Africa. So now casting global poverty is not an easy task. It requires assumptions about how to forecast growth, how such growth will impact the poor, and many other assumptions has to be done online. This goes to say that estimating how much global poverty will increase because of COVID-19 is challenging and comes with a lot of uncertainty. So, here the latest household survey data of 166 countries taken by World Bank for estimating the global poverty and extrapolate forward using of growth projections from the April 2020 edition of World Economic Outlook, which is comparing these COVID-19 impacted forecasts with the forecast of previous editions. So next to Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia is going to impact more. So this before COVID-19, experts estimated the global poverty may be up to 7.8%, but current forecast was raised to 8.6%. So people has to be ready. So we are also in the South Asia, so we have to think of that already. Many people are losing employments. So the things are going on. So the places where the virus is taking its highest toll depends on the primarily two factors: the impact of the virus on economic activity and the number of people living close to the international poverty line. So here at with many more people living close to the international poverty line, developing countries and developing worlds, lower and middle income countries will suffer the greatest consequences in terms of the extreme poverty. Even though we have been told that Saharan Africa has been hit relatively less by the virus from the health perspective, the data projections suggest that it will be the region hit hardest in terms of the increased extreme poverty. Nearly 23 million of the people pushed into poverty are projected to be from Saharan Africa area, and 16 million people are from South Asia. So this is going to happen with the impact. These are the premier impacts that we can say when it comes to economic and social impacts. Finally, which was not disclosed in the PPT, even though it's mandatory to speak about, actually, so many countries thought of taking census in the year of 2020 and 21, but they also stopped because of this COVID-19, because there is a huge change will occur because of this pandemic. That's what they stopped taking, even though they don't have any feasibility to take the consensus. So national statistical officers worldwide, they are struggling with the implications of the pandemic, and census was stopped at a moment when we urgently need up-to-date population data for preparedness and response. Censuses will be delayed, and many people may be going uncounted because of this pandemic. So next slide, sir. So there I end the presentation. How far the people are ready for the quiz, to take the quiz?
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yeah, Sudha ma'am. Tell me.
Means your voice is very slow, ma'am.
Sorry, my voice is slow.
Yes, ma'am. Very low. It's over, ma'am.
Yeah, it's over. I would like to go for quiz.
Quiz. Okay. 1 minute, ma'am.
Yes.
Let me allow to share my screen.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. May I share the screen now?
Yes, ma'am. Raise your audio, ma'am.
Audio is not coming?
Yes, coming, ma'am, but very...
Not audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible now? What happened to my laptop?
I'm audible, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me share the screen.
Okay, ma'am.
Just wait for a while.
Okay, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am, but we can't see you.
Okay, okay. Let me on the...
Anything else to explain, ma'am?
I have
Yes, ma'am. Now we can see you, ma'am. We can see you. We can hear you. You can continue, ma'am.
entered a site in the chat box. Dear participants, please do get into that site. Take the code. Yes.
Participants, if you are participants, you can raise question now. Anybody is there?
Ma'am, I would like to go with the quiz if participants are interested to
Okay,
take.
ma'am.
If they are
Okay,
interested, because they have to get into the Chrome and they have to get into the site. Are they willing or not? Let me know the willingness of the participants. May I go with the quiz? Just for fun and not anything serious over here.
Okay, madam. Okay. You may continue. Hello?
Participants are willing, ma'am. Participants are willing to.
Yeah, ask them to join for joinmyquiz.com. Joinmyquiz.com, which is already I shared on screen. And enter. After entering into the joinmyquiz.com, it will ask for game code. 348241 is the game code. We are able to enter, dear participants. None of the requests has come till now.
Ma'am, participant asked game
Game code is 348241.
348241.
Already there in the shared screen. That is the game code.
நான் தான் அனுப்புனேன்.
If any queries, you are free to post on chat box regarding this game.
Yeah.
None of the players entered till now. Participants, any difficulty in entering? You are free to chat with me. Only 5 questions it consists of. Definitely you will have fun and you will learn something for sure. Okay, let's not waste the time. Let us close this. See, people are not much interested in that. It's okay. Yes, Sivan, we can continue. Any queries or something? Open to questions.
Wait, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session. The participant who attend real enjoy. யாருக்கு வந்துச்சே மேடம்? The participant who attended really enjoyed your presentation. We appreciate you making time on a busy schedule, ma'am. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you.
Question answer session. Participant, it's time to clarify your doubt. If you have any doubt, you can clarify with our speaker. Please post your question in chat box or raise your hand. The participant, if you have any question, please post your question in chat box. I think all are happy that you are clarified. Next, vote of thanks. Now it's the time to hear the vote of thanks. Now I am glad to invite Mrs. V. Sudha ma'am, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Commerce, to deliver vote of thanks. Madam, unmute பண்ணுங்க.
தெரியுமா சார்?
Unmute பண்ணுங்க.
இப்போ
Yes.
ஓகேவா சார்?
Yes. Yes, continue, ma'am.
Shall I start, sir? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, please apologize for the technical issues today. Okay. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks in the memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God of our Swamiji for making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Dr. G. Uma Mageshi Madam, who despite of her busy schedule has found time to grace this occasion. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session. In spite of we have some technical issue, your slides are very clear and neat, and your presentation we all enjoyed. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We are grateful to our secretary, sir, for his words of encouragement and completion of this today's webinar. A great success. His able guidance has always encouraged us in all the aspects of this online webinar. I thank our principal sir for his support, vision, and commitment towards the webinar from beginning to end. I owe a special. I also extend my thanks to our HOD, Dr. S. Anandrajan sir, and other faculty members. I owe special gratitude to the participants who have actively participated in today's session and made the event a grand, memorable success. Once again, I thank all of you for your kind attention. I'm expecting the same from you for tomorrow also. And sorry for the interruptions and technical problem caused today. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.